First of all, once again, thank you all for coming. My name is Joseph Montes. I work as a channel manager for VitalPBX. Most of you might already know me from various emails that we might have shared throughout your time of being with VitalPBX or just knowing about VitalPBX and having some curiosity. I hope that I am able to satisfy your curiosity today with showing you the different types of reports and how Sonata Suite Stats works inside of VitalPBX. Okay, so first of all, what is Sonata Suite Stats? So Sonata Suite Stats is a call center statistics reports program that will allow you to create detailed reports for your different queues and your different agents. So with this tool, you'll be able to assess different aspects from your call center. With Sonata Suite Stats, you're able to get different reports that will go into detail for various types of different calls that you might have within your queues. So enough babbling, let's give it a good look. So this is Sonata Suite Stats. What you're seeing here is the first screen that you get. So in this case, we're going to start with the call report summary. But as you can see, the interface is quite familiar. So it resembles quite a lot to VitalPBX's own interface. So you will find your navigation menu on the left. And you will find some other information here on the top right, like your licensing and about the application. So let's begin by taking a look into every report that you can generate with Sonata Suite Stats. So to begin, we will start with the first stack of reports, which will be call reports. So the first one we have here is the summary. So whenever you're generating a report inside of Sonata Suite Stats, you will find here a couple of options on the top. So these options are first the queues that you're going to select, the agents, then you have a date range. So whenever you select the date range, you have this set of templates or time frames that we have created here. So you can select, for example, I will select this year and it will select it, or I can easily just select a specific date of time, but I'm just going to select this year, click apply. Same whenever you're selecting queues, you will see that this module looks a little bit familiar if you already have seen list selections inside of VitalPBX. So in this case, you can, as always, you can select your different agents individually. You can, oh, well, in this case, queues. And you can also search for specific queues here. Or you can simply click on the add all option, as well as the remove all, if you wish to remove them all. Now that we have them all selected, we can go to the agents, and the agents will be the same story, just with agents. So you can remove them all, add them all, search for a specific agent, or just add them individually like this. But in today's case, I'm going to add them all. You can also see that there's a little check mark on the left for this option. So whenever you select it, you will select all agents. So let's say that I'd have all agents not selected. And then I just click on this little check mark. It will select all of the agents at once. So now I have my time frame. I have my queues, my agents. There's another filter here, which we will take a look into how you can customize it in just a moment. But this other filter is the shifts filter. So what do shifts do? They will allow you to filter specific reports based on the shifts for the agents that you want here. So if you want to select agents that work a day during the weekdays or day during the weekends, you can select specific shifts of time that you're most interested in. Next, here we have a search, but before that search, we have even more filters. So here you will find a couple of filters dedicated to this type of report. In this case, you will be able to manipulate the filter for your service level. So you can select your initial period, your maximum period, and your interval. And and you will see later on that you can change the defaults for these options. And then you also have your filters for minimum wait time and minimum call time. But today I'm going to leave everything as is, and I'm going to go ahead and click on search. So now that I'm here on search, you can see that we have processed quite a few calls, and it was quite quick. So it only took a matter of seconds to process over 4,000 calls. You can see here, let's begin on the top left corner. So here on the top left corner, we will see a call report summary where you will see all of the queues that were considered, so all the queues that were selected, followed by the total calls that were processed. So you will see here that we have 4,334 calls answered and 631 calls abandoned. We also have the percentage for this information. So you will see that 87%, 0.29 and 87.29% have been answered and 12.71 have been abandoned. And then another very interesting detail, which is the disconnection causes. So here you will see that, 3,051 calls were disconnected by the agent and 1,283 were disconnected by the caller. And you can see their percentage there, 70.40 and 29.60. This is very interesting detail because usually in call centers, you do not want your agent to hang up the call first. It is always a courtesy to let the caller hang up instead of being the agent. So here you can see you can evaluate your agents and see whether or not they are hanging up on their callers. And in this case, for this demo, we're using data from a real call center here. We just anonymized their information, and we can actually see here that that we have here quite a few number of agents that are hanging up on the callers. They might have their reasons, but that's why we have this report to be able to evaluate those situations. Next up, we have the service level area. So with the service level, you can measure quite a few things. So the main idea of a service level is to measure how quickly the calls are getting tended to. So you can see how many calls were answered below 10, in this case, the first interval, 10 seconds, below or equal to 10 seconds. Then you can see how many in 20 seconds. And you can see the delta between the last set with regards to the new set, as well as the percentage of calls being answered within a certain time frame. Now you will see that certain calls are being answered a little bit over the most desired time, which would be between 10 and 20 seconds. But remember, these days are quite a bit tough days, and all of these agents are actually remote agents working from home. So there might be a little bit of a delay due to their internet connection, or they might be answering calls a little bit tougher, or maybe there are less agents available at the moment. But once again, this type of report lets us evaluate that. And on the top right corner, you can actually filter out the service level, and you can just keep the answered calls to measure how many of the calls were answered within a certain time frame. Or you can filter by the abandoned calls. So this is basically the wait time that the callers were waiting before they left the queue. So they most likely hung up or chose another option to leave the queue. But in this case of this call center, is most likely they just hung up. But so you can see here that, for example, 224 people hung up before or on 10 seconds, which is a little bit quick to some people's liking. So here you can evaluate that the abandonment by these people is not the agent's fault. So this will help um, you understand that type of situation where people are ringing in and even before 10 seconds they left the queue. Then on the lower left hand side, you will see a very nice summary of the answered calls. So here you will see how many answered calls you had. You have the average call length. So this is the average of all of these calls. Then you have the minimum call length, so the shortest call, the maximum calls length, so the longest call, and then the total calls length, which will be the sum of every single call. Then you have your average calls waiting time, your minimum waiting time. So then your max waiting time, the longest that somebody waited for getting an answer. And then the total waiting time, all of the waiting times for all of the calls summed up. Then we have the abandoned calls. So with the abandoned calls, we can see the total number of calls that were abandoned. We also have the average calls waiting time. We have the minimum waiting time for the abandonment. So you can see that somebody hung up even at 0 seconds. Then we have the max waiting time, so the longest that somebody waited before leaving the queue. In this case, it's 20 minutes, which is a very, very long time. That person had patience. Then we have a total waiting time, which is the sum of all of the waiting time before the calls were completely abandoned. All right, so this would be the summary reports. Quite useful information right away for you to analyze. Up next, we have this service level report where we can take a closer look into the service level. So here, you can see that the report is not filled automatically. This is because reports are filled individually when you are creating them in Sonata Suite Stats. The reason for this is just, well, first to save resources. So whenever you're making or generating report data, you do not want to clog up your system. So, and sometimes all you want to do is search for a specific report, not the whole thing. So with this process, you can generate individual reports without using that much processing power from your system. But as you can see on the top section, the queue selection, the agent selection, and your time frame, as well as the shift, in case you selected a shift, it will all be retained, and you can perform the search once again. And once again, since this is service level, we still have the more filters to create filters for service level. So now I am going to click on search. And you can see here that we can see now a graph based on the service level that we have here for this call center report. So here, the first thing that we have here is that you can filter between the answered, abandoned, and all calls, just as we saw on the summary. Then we have on the bottom the table with the information about the different intervals that we have here, with the number of calls and the percentage for that service level time. So you can measure for different intervals. Next up, we have the call reports by agent. The call reports by agent, once again, we will have the queue selected on top, the agents, the date, and the shifts. So here, we can go ahead and click on search. And one of you eagle eyes might have already seen something very, very useful. You will see that in the top right-hand corner of every single report, you will see PDF, Excel, and CSV. This is the way that you will be able to export all of these data to this specific formats that will give you the information that you see below. In the case if that you want to keep on these graphs, those will only be available in PDF, Excel, CSV. You will have all of your table data to generate your information or your specific reports on those type of applications that use these types of files. In this case, Excel or any other program that can read table data from a CSV file. So now we're here on the call reports by agent. And here on call reports by agent, the first thing that we see here, first we have a graph here on the top side, which will show you answered calls and lost calls per agent. So now I want to clarify just one thing about lost calls. Lost calls are not necessarily abandoned calls. They can be a hint about abandoned calls, but they are not abandoned calls themselves. When we talk about a lost call, it's a call that's been lost by a specific agent. So you will see that we will have here the agent and then the lost calls with regards to that agent. So when what we mean with lost call is a call that rang into an agent, but for some reason that agent couldn't answer, so that call either went to the next agent or rang on the same agent again if that's the only available agent. So this way you can track your agent's efficiency to answer calls. So, for example, in this case, um, if we can see here, we can see the information down here on the table. We can see the agent. Then we can see how many calls they answered. Then the answer calls percentage, their average call time, how many lost calls they had, the lost call percentage, and the total call time. And once again, all of this information here is summarized based on the time frame selection that you have here on top. Always take into this time frame into consideration. And as you might see on the agent side of things, we got this little plus sign here. And if we click on it, we will see a detail of every single call that agent had taken. So you can see here the date that this call was taken, the queue for this respective call, the caller's phone number, the hold time, the duration of the call, and then you have the disconnection costs, and then the event, which makes sense since this was disconnected by agent, so the event is completed by agent. And then you have the position of the call before they were answered. So here you can see this, all of this in detail. And once again, this table data you will see here that you can export it to PDF, Excel, or CSV. And here you can also even filter if you want to see all of the calls, if you only want to see the answered calls, or if you only want to see the lost calls. So you can see here that lost calls means that the agent did not answer that call while it was ringing on their extension. Next up, we have the lost calls by agent. So here we can take a closer look into all of these lost calls. So once again, we're going to click on search. And here we will see all of the different lost calls from every agent. So you will be able to see here first the date for this call, the queue where this call took place, the agent that was related to this lost call, and then the caller phone number. So if we click on this little icon at the end, we will see details about this information. So here you will see enter queue, ring no answer, and then it was connected with the agent and then completed by the agent. And the same goes for every single other option. So you can get a nice idea of of the tracking of that specific call and what happened to it. So as you can see here, lost calls do not mean that they are abandoned because they can be connected later on. But this will give you a nice idea of how that phone call was ringing to a specific agent. And you will be able to trace that call and how was the resolution for that specific call. All right. So those would be the lost calls by the agent. Next up, we have call reports by queue. So with here, let's go once again and click on search. You will even see a small filter here so you can search within this table. But what we have here on the table itself, we have the queue. We have how many calls were answered within that queue, how many calls were abandoned, the total number of offered calls, so the total number of calls that reached this queue, the max callers, so these are how many people were waiting at any given time within that specific queue. Then we have the answer percentage and the abandoned percentage, followed by the average call length. So the average of every single call. Once again, this information is summarized. So this will be based on the date, time frame that you selected. Then we have the total call length. So this is the sum of all of the calls within this queue. We have your average waiting time for the queue. Then we have the total waiting time. So this is the total waiting time of every single call inside of this queue. Then we have the SLA target. Notice that this SLA you do not configure inside of Sonata Suite Stats. This is the SLA target that you configure inside of the queue whenever you are creating a queue inside of VitalPBX. So whenever you're creating a queue inside of VitalPBX, you will actually see a field called SLA, which you can input this target number here. And then you can see the service level for that specific queue. So based on this target. And once again, since these are quite some tough times, the service level will be a little bit lower than expected. Usually, this call center will want to have over 80% of service level. But with everything going on in the world right now and everybody working remotely, all of these agents working remotely, the service level will decrease just a tad bit. Then, if we go ahead and click on the plus sign for the queue, we will actually see information about every single call inside of that queue. So you can see the date. You can see the once again the queue that you just selected. You will see the hold time for this call. You will see the duration of this call, the position that the caller was in before they got tended to. Then we have agent. Then we have complete agent. We then have the agent list for whoever took care of them. This case, since some agents wanted to be anonymous, we decided to blank them out, even more anonymous than changing names. So that's why this is blank. But you can see here the agent, and then we have the caller phone number, which also was randomized phone number for the sake of this demonstration. You can also then filter if you want to see only the answered calls. If you want to see the abandoned calls, now we're talking abandoned. So we will talk a little bit more about them in just 1 second about abandoned calls. So these are actually people that left the queue. And once again, we can search for every single call. And if you go to the date, you will see that there's also a plus sign there. And if you click on it, you will see more detailed information about this call. So you can see the exact date and time where the call entered queue, the exact date and time when it connected with the agent, and the exact date and time where that call was completed. So you can get more detailed information about those specific calls, and you can track everything down to the T. Okay, so this would be call reports by queue. Next up, we have abandoned calls. So inside of abandoned calls, once again, let's make a quick search. The first thing that we will see here is this little table over here that will tell you the cause for abandonment, the number of calls, and the percentage for the abandonment for the different causes. So you can see here that a um, call is considered abandonment with the caller abandons the queue, meaning that they left the queue either by hanging up or selecting an option. If you have an IBR, for example, you will see that detailed here. We also have timeout. So whenever you set up a queue inside of VitalPBX, you can select a timeout for that for a call to go to a final destination inside of the queue. So if that time is reached, you will see this event called timeout, and you will see here how many calls left the queue due to a timeout. So once again, abandoned calls would be calls that leave the queue. Then on the right-hand side of things, we will see the caller abandoned and the timeout in just a little pie chart. And then under that, we will see the abandoned calls themselves. So the first thing we have here is a sort option. So you can sort your different calls. Then we have how many items we want to see in a page. And then once again, you can export this table data to a PDF, Excel, or CSV. And here you will see on the table itself the date and time for the call, the queue for where this call is part of, then the caller's phone number, the position they were in before they abandoned, and then the disconnection costs, followed by the wait time. So here on the abandoned calls, we will have some further data that we can see. So if we click on the date and time on the plus sign, you will see some information about it. Let's look for a further on call. So for example, this one here, you can see that the caller dialed into the queue at this specific date. And then a couple of seconds later, in fact, only 2 seconds later, they abandoned the queue. So this will tell you that this person just called to that queue. Maybe it was a mistake. They rang the wrong phone number and decided to leave the queue immediately. And then you also have another option here on the right-hand side of things. So you can track an abandoned call. In this case, we're not going to see a little bit of data here. But what you see in this table, you will see if that person called later during that day. You will see if they had their call answered by another agent. So you will see information like the agent that took care of that person based on their caller number, then that date, the event, meaning they connected with the agent, the duration of that call, and the queue that they called to. So maybe this person could have called another queue. So you will see here that they were tended to through another queue. Here, this is a good example. You will see that this phone number um, tried to call here and abandoned. But then sometime later, in this case, 8 minutes later compared to the initial time, they were actually tended to by the agent 2103. Here we can see that the event for that call was then completed by agent, and the duration of that call was 1 minute 46 seconds on the same queue. So this person called later on, and this is a very nice way so you can see if someone that abandoned a queue for any type of reason later on called once again into the uh, into your call center. Okay, so those are the abandoned calls. We can then go to the answered call details. So here, let's make a search once again. And here we will see information about all of the answered calls. So once again, we have a sort option on top, as well as how many items you want to see in a page. Then we have um, the date for this call, the queue related to this call, the caller's phone number, the position they were in before getting their call answered, the disconnection cost, their wait time before getting their call answered, the duration of that call, then the agent that answered that call. And once again, you will see that we have a plus sign over here. And when we click on this, we will see the information about this specific call. Once again, the exact date that their date and time that they enter the queue, then their the time that they were connected with the agent, and the disconnection time, so completed by agent. And you will see here the duration of that call. So once again, just so you can see further detail about the different calls that you have here. Next up, we have the outgoing calls details. So here, you will be able to measure agents. In this case, we are not considering queues since these are outgoing calls, preparing us. And this option here is preparing us for a future product that you might have already heard about, being the Sonata dialer, which we will be talking more in the future. Then we will make our search. We even have even more filters, so you can filter by disposition, being the disposition of the call, if it was answered, busy, if it failed calls, or no answer or congestion. You can also select specific destinations or account codes. So now, when you click on search, you will see here information about the date and time for the call, who placed that call, to where they called, the disposition for that call, duration, wait time, meaning that's the time spent ringing, and then the trunk that it went through. In this case, we have uh, blurred out the trunk information just for privacy of the call center that allowed us to use this call data. All right. So next, we have the next set of reports that we can generate inside of Sonata Suite Stats. So here we will have traffic by hour. So in this, we can select the different queues, agents, time. We have selection of shifts, and then we have time interval. We will see in just one moment how this time interval uh, takes action within your report. So Let's go ahead and click on search. And here we can see information. Uh, First, the information that we see here is a nice line chart that will allow us to see the offered calls, abandoned, and answered calls. So we can see during the different hours of the day when more calls when we receive the most calls and least calls, um, as well as how that relates to the number of answered calls and abandoned calls, allowing us to take um, into notice the the calls that we want to the efficiency of our agents during a certain time of day. And here on under everything here, you will see table data for the exact same information we have here, along with additional information such as the answer call percentage, the average call time, minimum call time, maximum call time, as well as your average call wait time, your minimum call wait time, and your maximum call wait time, as well as the abandoned calls, your average abandoned call wait time, minimum abandoned call wait time, and your maximum abandoned call wait time. And as you can see, since we have so much data here, we have quite a few columns. For these types of reports, you will have um, navigation keys here, so you can click on them if you want to move. In my case, I'm using a mouse that allows me to do side scrolling, so I can side scroll through this as well. But one thing that I mentioned is the time interval and how does this take place. So you can see that we're looking here every 60 minutes, so every hour. But then we can change the time interval to every 30 minutes, for example, so we can get a little bit more granular information and we can see more details about everything. So here now we can see more detail about the time that we had most calls. So you will see here that 1 p.m. was indeed the time that we had the most calls. So you can see this type of information going throughout here. And once again, all of this information is summarized based on the time frame that you selected here on top. So this is a very neat way so you can see which time of the day is your busiest within this specific time frame. Then we have the traffic by day. So with traffic by day, once again, let's give it a quick search. Similar to the traffic by hour, you will see the traffic based on the different days. In this case, we only have data for around 1 month of calls. So in this case, my time selection is a bit too wide to see. So I can zoom in just by selecting a closer time frame. So I can go ahead and select, let's say, from the 11th of July to August 18th. I could go ahead and click apply, and I will click on search. So now we can get a more zoomed in version of what we were looking at. And you can see here your different trends with regards to the different dates here. So you will see how many calls you received on specific days from your time selection here. So how many calls were offered, abandoned, or answered. And we can see a certain trend here of calls going up in the middle of the week, and then going down, going up, going down. So you are able to measure how your calls were doing throughout a specific date range. And once again, you can see table data for what you're seeing here on the chart. And once again, all of this table data is always exportable to PDF, Excel, and CSV. So I'm not going to be saying the names of every column. You are getting the gist of the type of information you're getting here. So all of your answered calls, abandoned calls, and their different wait times. And you can see everything for every single date within the date range that you selected here. Next up, we have by day of the week. I'm just going to, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to change back to this year. And now I can go ahead and click on search. And here we can get and averaged out for every single day of the week based on the date range that you have selected. This way, you can measure which day of the week is your BCS and which one is your least BC day of the week. So we can see here for this specific call center that Monday through Friday is a little bit consistent, maybe a little bit wavy around Tuesday, and then things calm down when you're reaching the weekend. So we can measure this type of information going through here. And then once again, you have table data for every single day of the week in this case, with the chart data that you can see here, plus the different uh, call times and wait times. Next up, we have the report of traffic by month. So in reports for traffic by month, you can see the different queues that you have available. Then you have the different agents, the time, date, all the same. And then when you click search, since we only have um, around a month of data within 2 specific months, we can see that we have a bump in the middle of here. But once again, similar to by day of the week, we can see here by month. So maybe at the end of the year, you would like to know which was your BCS month or which was your least BC month. So you will see this information here under the table data down here as well. All right, so this is the traffic by month. Let's move on to lost calls by hour. And then once again, we can click search and we see our friend time interval once again up here. And then here you can notice which time of the day you have the most lost calls. In this case, let's make it a little bit more granular by searching down here. Okay, so we can see a little bit more detail in our line graph. And down here, you will see table data for every single half an hour of the day until you reach the end of the day. And you will see how many lost calls on that specific time. So in this case, we can see that 7 a.m. is quite a difficult time for this call center. And I apologize if you can listen to a dog barking in the background. Once again, we're all working from home. So you can see here that 7 a.m. is a little bit difficult for this call center. So maybe we might need more agents available at that time so we can evade having this high number of lost calls at this time. And once again, all of this information is based on the time frame that you selected. In this case, since we're looking at specific hours, so this will be summarized information based on the date range that you have selected. Okay, so then we have the agents. So for agents, we have different set of reports. We will begin with session detail. So with session detail, once again, same filters. And we can go ahead and click on search. And here we will see the different agents that we actually have data for. In this case, we only have data for around 11 agents here. And you can see their different information. So how many sessions they had within this time frame, their average session time, average amount of pauses within this time frame, your average pause length. Then we have the average pauses per session, average pause percentage. The pause percentage itself. Then the time that they were available in a session, and then the pause time here. Once again, you will see a lot of numbers here since we have so many queues, so the numbers will look a little bit big. But in here, you can see the different information, and you can see here that this agent specifically, you can see their different pause data summarized for the different times of the day. This agent pauses quite a bit, and you can see that they pause for 48 different queues. of the 50 that we have selected. So that's why the numbers can look a little bit big. And once again, this is all summarized based on the time frame that we have selected. But you can see here that we have quite some detail about everything, and you can choose how you will see the information displayed here. Then, after the agents session details, you will see the availability of agents. Once again, we can click search. And this one will take just a little bit more time for the amount of information, but you can see there it was a little bit quick. So here you can see the numbers of agents that are being evaluated, the average agent time. So based off every single agent on every single queue, you will see their time. So then we have the minimum session time, the maximum session time, and then we have the total session time. So this is all based on the number of queues and the date range that we have selected. And then once again, we can select a specific agent and see information about them. So in this case, we can see outgoing calls for those agents if they were available at some times. You can see end pause, pause, or start session, end session. All of these, all of these information is all over this table here. So next up, we have the agents session by hour. So let's do another quick search here. And here you will see every single agent and for every single hour, and you will see the times that they were available at those specific moments. So you can see here, based on this time frame, that some agents were not available at the wee hours of the night or the early morning, but they were available from 1 p.m. here to almost 8. And then you can see here that some of them were available at those times. So you will see that they are available at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And you can see how much time, based on the time range that we're selecting here, they have been available at those times. Then we will have the agents by hour. So now if we click on search, now here for the different specific dates, you will see how many agents were available during that specific date. So the first thing that you have here is the total number of unique agents for that day. And then you can see the different hours of the day when an agent was available. And then if you click on a number, you will see which agent was available at the time, what time they started, what time they ended their session, and the duration of their session at that time. The same, if you click on this number under the date, you will see the list of unique agents that were available that day. So this is a very nice report where you can see which agents were available on a specific date. And then that would be it for every single report inside of Sonata Stats. The rest that we have here is going to be an initiative. We will take quite a look into that in just one moment. But remember that I said at the beginning that all of the reports were done individually. But now that we have looked at every single report, we can actually go back to every report and we will see information. Meaning that just by looking at every single report, we can now have all the reports available for us to reference now that we have generated all of them. So you can see here that we can go all the way back and we can reference all of the information that we have generated based on the filters that we did for those specific reports. Okay, so before we end today's presentation, let me show you a couple of things that you can do on the settings. So the first thing that I would like to show you, well, before that, we go into the settings. First, shifts, how you can um, manage them. So if you go to reports and then shifts, here you can create your different shifts. In this case, I have created 3. So we have weekdays. So I have selected from Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then we have night weekdays that goes from 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. and so on and so forth. So this way you can easily create your different shift filters. Then under settings, I would like to show you the report settings. So under report settings, here we can see a couple of keys, fields of information where you can enter your company name, your time zone, your PDF paper size. So whenever you export on to PDF, what's going to be the paper size? What day of the week your week starts on. So this is very important for different regions. You might see that the week starts on a different day. So this is very important whenever you're doing filters based on this week or past week or current week. Then we have the PDF footer. So here you can add some information that you will see on the footer of your PDF. So you can generate something like this, for example. Then we have memory limit. So depending on of the amount of data that you wish to process, some processes will require that you give them a little bit more memory. So you can set this up here. Then we have company logo. So for whenever you export a report by PDF, instead of having the Sonata Suite Stats logo, you can have your own company logo be displayed instead. So you can add your company logo through here. And then we have a couple of customizations that we can do. So the first one will be the service level default filters. So here you can change your default filters for service levels, so such as your initial period, your interval, your max period, the call wait limit, and your call talk limit. And then we have a couple of options here that I just want you to understand a little bit more, which is the agent sessions default filters. So why do these options exist? So whenever you're making a selection of time, um, you might trim or clip off certain session events or events in general for specific agents. So let's say that you're making a filter that goes from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then, for example, let's say that agent started their session at 4:59 a.m. and that event will not be taken into consideration due to the time date filter um, that you have selected for your report. So here you can input the information so you can compute the session time. So here you can say the maxed session allowed. So this is the longest that a session can last if you cannot see the start session and the end session. Then we have the max pause allowed. So similar story to the sessions themselves. So if you cannot find that start or end pause event, you can define what is the maximum pause time that is allowed within this specific call center that you're measuring for. Then we have some email settings. Why do we have email settings inside of Sonata Suite Stats? So here you can configure your own email client with your different email clients information. And the reason that we have this is because if we go to reports, we can actually email reports automatically um, from the application. So you can create an email template. So this will be the template of the email that will be sent to the specific people that you're going to send the emails to. So in this case, we have here a quick and an easy report. You can add a couple of filters that will a couple of filters, a couple of tags that will be variables inside of your email. So such as the user, the to, the report name, repeat mode, and then you can save this email template and then go to what we call the report builder. So inside of the report builder, we can see the weekly reports. And here we can build the reports that we wish to send by email. So here I have created a weekly report, which is a summary report based on the summary report that we saw at the beginning. We can filter the call type, your SLA filters, your call times, your shifts, as well as your queues. You can select your agents, the format, and then the period that you wish to measure. In this case, it's current week, but you can select within these different period filters, and you can even select a custom date range. So once you have your report built, you can go to Report Scheduler, and here you can schedule your report. So here you can enter a description, select the report that you just built. You can enter the email addresses of the people that you wish to send these emails to. You can select your start date, so when you're going to start sending these reports. The repeat mode, in this case, we have selected weekly, but we can choose a one-time event, daily, monthly, yearly. Then you can select your interval. So here we have every 1 week, but then we can go every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. We're going to be sending this report. You can select the weekdays. So you can select the specific day of the week that you're going to send this email. In this case, this is because I have selected repeat mode weekly. And then we have the email template. So this email template is the one that we created up here. And we have selected it. So once you have this set up, then you can create as many report schedules as you want. You will see the list over here. Once you have everything there, you can enable this report schedule. And in my case here, it's update, but you will be able to click save there and start sending those reports. So this way you can automate the process of generating the same reports over and over by someone that is in charge of generating those reports every so often. So here, if you're generating the same type of reports, you can just build a report and start automatically sending that report to specific people. All right, so that would be everything for the demonstration of today for today. So this has been the Sonata Suite Stats. Um, the final section is user management, which is quite similar to other Sonata applications where you can create your users and assign roles to see which types of, in this case, which types of reports they can access to, which is actually quite a simple process. You just select which areas you want them to see. So that's why we don't go over that, since that's quite some blatantly obvious information there. But with this, we have covered the original features and all of the specific features for the Sonata stats. So with all of this said, you were wondering, what's the price? So for the Sonata stats, with regards to the individual license, we have first the free version. What do we mean with free version? Remember that every single add-on inside of VitalPBX you can use without a license, meaning that you can install the add-on without making a purchase first. So you can try everything out. In this case, you will be able to monitor up to 8 agents for the number of queues You will have all of the features, so you can test everything out and see if this application is fit for you. Then we are moving to 16 agents. It will run for $250. Then 32 agents for $400, and 64 agents for $750, and unlimited agents, unlimited queues, everything fully featured, will run you for $1,250. Once again, these are individual licenses, so there's no yearly or monthly thing here with the individual licenses. So as you can see, the prices are quite compelling to what's available in the market right now. Then we have the licensing plans. The current licensing plans will not include licensing for the Sonata Suite Stats. In this case, we have the call center. We have created the call center licensing plan, which will allow you to have unlimited agents, unlimited queues for 100 US dollars a month, or 1,000 US dollars a year. And once again, these are licensing plans. So this doesn't mean that this is just for the Sonata Suite Stats. This will include the different core add-ons, so you can license those as well, and the other Sonata applications like Sonata Recordings, Sonata Switchboard, and Sonata Billing. And and this would be for one single tenant, similar to the enterprise licensing plan, just with the Sonata Suite Stats added to it. And then we have the Carrier Plus CC, which will run you for US 125 per month, or $1,250 per year. And this will be unlimited agents, unlimited queues, unlimited everything. And once again, since this is the Carrier licensing plan, like Carrier Plus CC licensing plan, this will include unlimited tenants. So you will have the core add-ons, the other Sonata applications, Sonata Recordings, Sonata Switchboard, and Sonata Billing, plus the Sonata Stats for unlimited agents, and you will have the unlimited tenants there as well. There will be upgrade options available in the due time when this Sonata Suite Stats is fully released. Right now, it's still in its beta stages. Just before we get to that release date, by the way, all of this demo was running on a high availability environment, but you might know high availability inside of VitalPBX in this traditional way, where you have the master server, the standby server, and each one of them have an IP and a floating IP that will go to whichever server is the master at that moment. And we talked a little bit on how this high availability environment was updated for version 3. But in this case, there's another high availability environment that is entering the playground. This is what we call the high availability call center. So instead of just having the two servers, the master and the standby, interchangeably within each other, their information is replicated within each other, and if one of them fails, and if the master fails, the standby becomes the master. We now have a third contender here, which is the app server. So the app server is designed to just have the information replicated to it, but you do not make configurations on the app server. The app server is just to get the information replicated to it, being the asterisk MySQL information replicated to it. And then here is where you will be running all of the different applications. In this case, the Sonata applications, and coming soon in the future is Bitsy. So you will be able to run your different applications from a third server. um, this way you're not using resources from your call servers. So in the case of these big call center environments, with hundreds of agents available, um, may want to have this option where the different applications to generate reports, to generate reports based on call recordings, or to monitor the different agents. All of these applications will be running on a third separate server, so you can relieve the other two servers of these tasks. So this is a very interesting scenario that we will be sharing more information on how you can deploy it quite soon, since it's on the end stages of its testing capabilities. So uh, once again, this is on the final stages of testing, and we will be sharing very soon the process and all of the things that you need to do to have this specific environment with a master standby and an application server. Okay, so now you're asking, when is Sonata Suite releasing? So Sonata Suite Stats is releasing. So the release date for the Sonata Suite Stats is August 31st. So be expecting that you will be able to license and to download the Sonata Suite Stats by the end of this month. Right now, it's on its final beta stages, where we are ironing out a couple of things here and there, just to make sure that it is as powerful as it can be. And you saw today that we generated very detailed reports that are very nice to have and very useful to have. So we hope that all of you enjoy this application as much as we do. So, questions? You can see here that you all have been very active on the chat. But I can see here a question that says, is Carrier Plus a VitalPBX plan that we can upgrade to? Yes, totally. The Carrier Plus CC, you will be able to upgrade to from any other plan that you might have, so you can take advantage of the new added features to it. Can see here a question here. It says, is it compatible with version 2.4? No. Sonata Suite Stats is part, as we mentioned on the webinar last week, if you were here, or if you have seen the video, Sonata Suite Stats is available from version 3.0 onward. Then we have somebody asking, if I buy a perpetual license of 2.4, then you release 3.0. Does it include the upgrade license? No, no. In this case, you would need to upgrade a license when changing from 2.4 to 3.0 if you want to have the Carrier Plus, because the license that you purchased was another license. You will need to upgrade that license as well. You can upgrade versions from 2.4 to 3.0. We are actually writing down the process and just doing the final testing for the migration script to migrate from 2.4 to 3.0. So you can upgrade versions, but in terms of licensing, you will need to upgrade the license as well. Okay, so once again, just to clarify, the Carrier Plus CC is a brand new product. So this is different to the current carrier plan. The difference between these two plans is that the Carrier Plus CC will have the unlimited Sonata Suite Stats. So you can have your unlimited agents, unlimited queues for your unlimited tenants. All right. So um, there's no more questions here. Once again, this product will be available August 31st, and once in August 31st, you will be able to purchase directly from our website. So this product will be available on our website by then. So similar to how you can purchase um, any other application within our store. Okay, so I guess that would be it, and we'll see you again some later time when we do our next webinar. So stay tuned to our um, mailing list, our different social media channels, and we can talk later. So I hope that everybody is excited with Sonata Suite Stats. I can see here. Will you post this recorded session? Yes, we always record our webinars, and they will always be available on our YouTube channel. So um, we will be posting this by tomorrow, so you can see all of this once again and over and over and over. All right then, so we'll see you next time. Okay, I can see here just before that somebody asked a question. We can see that currently I have a carrier plan. So when I upgrade, I just pay for the difference. Yes, if when you're upgrading, depending if it's the last day of your current plan, you're just paying the difference there. If you have already paid, if you're using monthly or yearly, but your next payment will be starting with the pricing of the new plan you upgraded to. So if you're in the middle of a cycle of your upgrade period, the whatever you paid there will be considered for that first payment, and then after that your cycles will begin with the new plans. Okay then, so you can see no more questions. Okay, will the upgrade procedure cover HA scenario? So if you're meaning upgrading your license, then you would upgrade your different licenses. Remember that with HA, you will need a license per server that you have there. So you would need to upgrade all of those licenses. If you're talking about upgrading from version 2.4 to 3.0, that is something that we are still under discussion since the HA procedure has changed for version 3.0. We will give you some information about those that procedure from the older HA environment. Yeah. Then we have the free version 8 agents. Can I use for my current carrier plan? Yes. So the enterprise and the carrier plan, you can still use the 8 agent version. So those are still available with the enterprise and the carrier, the normal carrier one. If you want to have the unlimited, you will need the carrier plus and the call center licensing plan. And yes, it's part of version 3. The licensing is version agnostic, but it wouldn't make sense to have a call center or carrier plus CC on version 2, since Sonata Stats is available from version 3 and onward. All right, then. So I will leave it up to there. I hope that everybody enjoys the application, and we will see you again very soon. So see you next time.